Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's most famous samurai. Known as the greatest samurai in history, the most feared warrior and the strongest and most legendary man in Japan, Miyamoto Musashi was one of the most famous warriors in the history of feudal Japan. Throughout his life, he faced more than 60 duels to the death and was never defeated. However, his life was not only limited to being recognised as the best swordsman of his time, but he was also a writer, painter, treatise writer, philosopher, and strategist. He wrote the Book of Five Rings, which has been one of the most notable works on martial arts. The early years of Miyamoto Musashi. The first verifiable years of Miyamoto Musashi date back to his childhood. As for the data about his birth, we can verify it in the Book of Five Rings. In it, we can see that Musashi identified himself as a samurai native of Harima, also known as the province of Banshu. According to the historian Kamiko Tadashi and data from Musashi's early biography by Nikken, he was born in 1584 into the arms of a samurai family who settled near Himeji Castle. At this point, his story would begin to take its first turn. For being part of a family on the losing side in the war for the unification of the country, he was adopted by Miyamoto Musashi, a samurai from Okayama with whom he would learn the art of the sword. As he grew up and studied the martial arts, he began to question his own father's sword techniques until tensions exploded and they went their separate ways. At the age of 7, he went to live with his uncle Doring, and at the age of 13, he won his first duel. Defeated a master swordsman in his first duel to the death. Arima Kihei was a notable samurai who founded a school called the Art of Precision. Kihei travelled from village to village, challenging anyone who dared to confront him. To do so, he would post a notice that read, "For anyone who chooses to challenge me, you will be accepted." When the 13-year-old Musashi, a teenager, read the notice, he wrote underneath, "I will challenge you tomorrow," subsequently writing his name. That same afternoon, he would have received a reply from Kihei accepting the duel and indicating the address of the location. Doring, Musashi's uncle, dismayed by his nephew's recklessness, tried to remedy the situation by trying to talk to Arima Kihei, apologising for Musashi's actions and thus avoiding the duel. While apologising, Musashi, who was present, again challenged the monk to a duel to the death. The next morning, Miyamoto set out for the meeting place, and with a wooden sword, he struck the man down, hit him on the head, and the monk ended up dying while vomiting blood. His later years. 3 years later, Musashi left home and began his pilgrimage to hone his swordsmanship through numerous single combats and battles. All he sought was to develop more experience and increase his knowledge. "I travelled through province after province, fighting warriors of all kinds, but none could defeat me in the more than 60 duels in which I participated," he wrote in the Book of Five Rings. During his pilgrimage, he was reunited with his father Miyamoto Musashi, who was engaged in a war between Lord Yoshitaka, the feudal head of Nikatsu Castle, and the villagers of Kyushu Island. Musashi joined the battle, and after tasting victory, he knew he wanted to continue exploring life. It was then that he was recognised as the best swordsman in Japan. He defeated his adversaries with a wooden sword. Another of the most surprising curiosities about Miyamoto Musashi is that he mostly used 2 wooden swords to defeat his opponents. In fact, it's known that he frequently used a bokken and a kodachi. The bokken is a weapon commonly used in various Japanese martial arts, while the kodachi is a type of sword similar to the wakizashi, but somewhat longer and with a more curved blade. Miyamoto, being a highly skilled swordsman, never needed a traditional katana or any other cutting weapon to fight. On the contrary, he benefited from the lightness of wood to improve his attack and agility. As a curious fact, one of the most famous duels was won using a wooden sword made from a spare boatsman's paddle. The duel was against Sasaki Kojiro, a notable 17th century samurai master, nicknamed the Demon of the West. Kojiro had founded a school of sword fighting, and for his duel with Miyamoto Musashi, he used a longer than usual nadachi, two-handed sword. Musashi instead carved a wooden sword larger than Kojiro's, as he made his way to the island where the match was to be held. By April 13th, 1612, he would find himself on the island, where he would defeat the master swordsman Kojiro with a precise blow to the head. Homeless life. For the rest of his life, Miyamoto Musashi kept himself apart from society to seek a kind of enlightenment through the way of the sword. He lived precariously, wandering through every province he visited. According to historians, he didn't even care about his own physical appearance and only devoted himself to practicing his skills. His appearance was coarse and wild. It's also said that he never tried a bath, as he feared that his adversaries would attack him unarmed. However, this last version is improbable, because although it is known that this famous swordsman had an unkempt appearance, it's also known that he was frequently invited to the houses of the nobility, so it's not credible that he presented himself dirty or pestilent. The Book of Five Rings. During his life as a hermit in Regando Cave in 1643, he wrote the Book of Five Rings, which is a treatise on Kenjutsu and Japanese military strategy. It's often compared to the book The Art of War, written by the Chinese strategist Sun Tzu. Musashi also produced other works, such as his classical dye paintings and his written work called Dakodo, The Way of Solitude. However, for Japan, his greatest legacy will remain the Book of Five Rings, because after World War II, when Japan was devastated, the concepts of this treatise helped the country to be reborn. Undoubtedly, this work and his unbeatable feats during his lifetime will always be remembered throughout history. For the Middle Ages, contemporary, and even the modern age, he'll be recognised as the most legendary samurai in the history of Japan. Without a doubt, Miyamoto Musashi was the greatest samurai in history, and many would say that to this day, there is no other samurai as great as him. What did you think about the life and work of Miyamoto Musashi? Leave us your comments about it, and you can also tell us which historical character you would like to see in our videos. Don't close the video yet. Before you go, please subscribe and leave us a like if you like the content. It will help us to grow and continue making much more content. Now, without further ado, we say goodbye.